Hello and welcome back to another one of these recorded presentations on professional practice, and this is part 4 of our professional practice sessions. And the starter for this session was to think about induction week and go back to teacher professionalism and reflect and review what makes a professional teacher. And you might want to pause this presentation now and make some notes on what you now think makes a professional teacher. And as usual, we started with the Hallam teacher and celebrating successes. So if you weren't there, you've missed listening to everyone's lovely successes that they were celebrating. And the learning outcomes from this session were to look at the positive professional relationships with colleagues, consider different approaches to working alongside challenging colleagues, and to practice feedback on how to give those difficult conversations. And so for this session, these are the occupational standards and learning outcomes, although we also covered in the session a range of other things as well. So you will need to look on Blackboard to see the other bits that you've missed. And there were some case studies, and you'll find these case studies on Blackboard as well, where you were thinking about the how you would support a colleague who was struggling to cope. And so you might want to have a look at those case studies after this presentation. And at this point in the year, we're down here, so we've almost finished. 2 more sessions to go of this trimester, and then only 4 more sessions in the following trimester. So the year is nearly up. And the reason for talking about professional conversations is that as you move into being a teacher, you will have more of these conversations happening. And it's really about giving individuals help with when they need it, really, whether that's your learners or your colleagues as well within the staff room. So I asked you to think of someone in a professional education setting who you don't really connect with and not share their names, but using them as the example all the way through this. Thinking about those challenging colleagues, it might be somebody who you really don't feel with and how they make you feel. And that's the important thing. How does it make you feel when you have to work alongside them? And what the consequences of working alongside them when you really don't connect with somebody? And one of the models we can think about for this is around levels of conflict. If we're in conflict with other people, we're probably at a level of discomfort initially, and it's not really comfortable to be in the same room, but then more and more incidents will happen. And the more incidents happen, the more we end up with misunderstandings. And the more of those misunderstandings happen, the more there's tensions, and then we end up with a crisis of some sort. So it's really important that we address any sort of discomfort or incidents or misunderstandings, because we don't want that tensions and crisis level. So we really need to address things in an assertive way. And when I talk about assertive, we're looking for I win, you win approaches. And it's easy to get aggressive and competitive with another person, or to think, well, I'm just going to back off and let you do it and be passive. Or we can be indirectly aggressive and talk about people behind their backs rather than to their faces and sort things out, in which case both parties lose. You get a bad reputation, that individual doesn't benefit, and nothing improves. So it's really important we're assertive when it comes to these things. And the theory on starting positions says that if we've got somebody who's diametrically opposed to our point of view, they think they're complete opposite to us, the best we're going to be able to move them is 2 points on this scale. We're only going to get to a point where we can agree to disagree. That's the best we're going to come up with. And so it's always worth thinking about this. What is the best you can get out of this? You're probably not going to ever get to a point of it being brilliant with a colleague who you've really had a conflict with. So really bear in mind, you might just get to a point of agreeing to disagree and being able to get on with things. And those trusting relationships, we go through these levels where we have ritual sniffing, which is when we say hello to people coming into the office in the morning, when we share information, and then going up further, we start to give our opinions and ideas, and going up further, we talk about our values and beliefs, why we're a teacher, and then going up further, we talk about the peak rapport. And the thinking with this is that if we try and get peak rapport and share our beliefs and values too soon, it's a bit weird. We need to go up these, and we need to take our time to go up these levels. So just something to bear in mind. And most of us are in the normal zone. And this is important to remember in terms of our focus and assertiveness. Most of us are normally focused and assertive, but there will be some of us who are more task focused and some of us who are more people focused. And equally, there will be some of us who are more passive and some of us who are more aggressive. And if you take each one of these 4 extremes, most of us in the normal zone, but if you say actually for a task-focused person who's passive, they want to get everything right. For a task-focused person who's aggressive, they just want to get it done. For a passive, people-focused person, they want to get along. And for an aggressive, people-focused person, they just want to get appreciated. And so when we know where they are at, it's easier to start to think, actually, I now need to know what I can do to support those individuals. So you might want to stop and take notes on this. If you're working with a get it right person, what would you need to do to get them on your side, to get them to work with you in an effective, positive way? And likewise for a get it done person. And then you can make notes on a get along person and a get appreciated person. So you pause this slide now and just make some notes on those 4 categories. Most of us in the normal zone. And remember that thing of all behaviour happens for a reason. And so with our colleagues, challenge your behaviour is no different. Challenge your behaviour is no different. It's communication. With being irrational or difficult or something happening in our life, and that's causing our behaviour. And when I talk about in our life, don't forget we've got Maslow here. Maslow plays a part. Maslow's hierarchy. If we're going through, for instance, if you've got a colleague who's going through a difficult divorce at work, maybe they're not the best person to be talking to, and they may not be calm. They may not be ready to have a conversation about everything. So it's just being a bit understanding that some of us have things in our lives that maybe we're not sharing with others at work, particularly if you don't necessarily get on and connect with somebody. You're going to be a bit more hesitant to share stuff. So just keep in mind that there might be other things going on for the individuals we work with. And then another health warning, just keep also in mind that Maslow and the hierarchy of needs has some critics, some quite significant critics about how this particular model works. So you need to bear in mind those. And there's more on the criticisms of Maslow there. And so here's an approach to starting a professional conversation, and it is just an approach. If you have a way that works for you and that's working well, carry on doing your way. If it's not working or you're not sure how to approach a difficult professional conversation, here is one you can use. And we'll start with a sentence which is I noticed. For instance, we might say, I noticed today you seem really upset today. I've just noticed that. I imagine there's something going on in your life at the moment that's causing this upset. How it makes you feel? I want you to feel happy when you come to work. Is that I'd really like to be able to see you being happy, and I feel worried about you. I want you to know that you can talk to me if you need to. And that's all we need to do. You know, that's all it is. Simple as that. The listening wheel. The listening wheel is something that's used by the Samaritans in their training, and it involves just thinking about asking open-ended questions in a professional conversation. The who, what, why, when, where questions are really good. Not everyone knows how to answer the how. How question can be a difficult one. Showing you're listening by nodding and grunting and having all those non-verbal communication, really important. Having eye contact. Reacting if they say something that's particularly worrying, or if you think they've said something that's quite harsh, go, oh, that sounds bad. Reflecting maybe keywords that they've used to show that you've really listened to them and you've heard what they're saying. Clarifying your understanding. If there's anything that in their conversation that doesn't quite make sense, just clarify. And then also summarising, taking time to summarise what they've said so that they know that you've really understood what's going on for them. And using the listening wheel is something that can be quite hard. It can take a bit of time, but it does take a bit of practice. And there's no real secret formula for any of these difficult conversations that we have with colleagues. It's about being professional at all times. And this is the same thing we've talked about in Induction Week, the same thing we thought hopefully you've identified in the starter activity for today. It is about being professional, and we expect you to be professional at all times. So the plenary was a 2-minute challenge, and to think about your Pebble Pad. And here's some questions for your Pebble Pad. And you might want to just check that you've got the evidence that can prove you these things. So just bear that in mind. If you want to give me some feedback, you can do so here, and thank you.